I go through periods of time. Right now, I'm in more of a very singer-songwriter kind of approach to it, where I sit down with my guitar and I'm trying to write these things straight through. I'm trying to attach onto these larger narratives and more storytelling. And but I've gone through different periods. My previous period would have been where I'm basically standing in front of my computer. I got a riff idea and I'm going to record that and I'm going to lay out the song, and then I'm going to do it in pieces, and I'll do it as a full demo.
This is Rob Ruckus.
Hey, this is Kate Clover.
Hey guys, it's Nick Collins here from The Effect and Better Strangers.
Hi, my name is Madeline Rose.
Hey, it's Ben McKelvey.
It's Tim Howard here from Mike and the Mechanics.
Hello, I'm Amanda Lehman.
I'm Billy Harvey.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Casey Sampson from the band Twist Stop.
Hey, it's Tony from Fastball.
Hello, everybody. My name is Isaiah Mitchell.
Hey guys, it's Matt here from the White Lakes.
You're listening to Almost Famous Magazine.
Come join us for this interview. Check it out, Almost Famous Magazine.
Hey everyone, welcome back to The Hang right here on Almost Famous Magazine. I'm your host, Scott Saldinger. The Hang is where we sit down with amazing artists from across the globe, learning their stories, talking about releases, talking about future plans. You name it, we cover the vast spectrum we can in a conversation. If you're new to the channel, please, you know what to do. Subscribe, hit the button. Share this with your friends. It helps the podcast. It also really does help the artists that we have on as our guests. Also, if you're one to take your podcast on the go with you, we are now available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more. So please take us with you wherever you enjoy your podcast. On today's episode of The Hang, we're sitting down with Toronto, Canada-based singer-songwriter Brodie Christ, who's released a thoughtful and gently uplifting new single. I mean, he's got a single, he's got an album. I'm congested, my head, I'm swimming in my brain. We're gonna keep going on this, but he's got an uplifting single, Born, Middle, End, which is really amazing, and I love the music video. And it's taken from his second album that was released on October 15th called Big Feelings. Brodie, welcome to The Hang.
Thank you so much, Scott. I'm happy to be here.
I'm looking forward to this. I really am. We actually did a whole month of Canadian artists back in June. Where were you, man?
Nice. Yeah. I don't know where I was in June, but I wasn't ready yet. Now I'm ready.
All right. You're ready and raring to go. What we typically do, though, before we start talking about your current release, is I'm always fascinated with people's musical beginnings, right? How it all came about. Let's talk about your origin story. Did you find music, or did music find you? And what's that journey been like?
Yeah, that's a great question. The first thing that comes to mind, I'll be honest, is actually my parents used to take us to church every Sunday. And I was there with my brothers. I come from a big family, and we used to just love just belting it out, these hymns. And maybe we thought it was funny. Maybe we thought it was like just interesting. We just loved to just sing as loud as we could in church. And I'm sure all the other people were looking at us going like, okay, somebody should put a leash on these kids. But my parents just kind of let us go. So singing, I started out singing in church and just got a feel for kind of singing out loud. And then later on, I'd say maybe 11 years old, I had a bunch of friends over. We're 11 years old. We said we should start a band. No one played anything. We had no skills whatsoever. But that day, we wrote a song called "In the World Today." I think it was probably reminiscent of what was that song with Michael? Michael Jackson was there. They had all those like in the 80s. I can't remember what the name of it was, but it was like they had all these famous people singing on it. It was like to raise money for.
Oh, We Are the World. We Are the World.
Yes. So it was our version of We Are the World. And that's what we wrote that day. We did nothing else. That was the end of it. But the idea stuck. It just kind of sat like, I want to be in a band. I want to play music. So 15 years old comes around, and I had two friends. One started playing guitar. The other one started playing bass. And I was like, well, what can I do in this? So I started to play the drums, and that was it. But I always had this thing, like, I want to write songs. How can I write songs? How can I do that? So after playing the drums for a bunch of years, I started to pick up guitar, basic chord stuff so that I could start writing my own songs. And that was So that was the beginning of it. It's funny. I mentioned the church thing. These are like weird inspirations for my life. But the other funny one is that my mom loved musicals. I know maybe it's not a cool rock and roll thing, but my mom listened to all these like Miss Saigon and Cats and stuff like that. And those things, if you know them, they have like killer hooks. They have amazing melodies. Like the people that write these songs are like amazing. So those ideas, like they're not influential necessarily from a musical perspective, but just I love trying to find these amazing hooks and trying to write beautiful melodies. And so inspiration from let's say from Cats. Let's say I get all my musical inspiration from Cats. It's there. It's just sort of sitting in the back,
What was that? The Rum Tum Tugger, right? That was a character in Cats. I saw Cats on Broadway eons ago. So, so you're saying you're giving me an idea that maybe upcoming albums you'll have like the Wells Fargo Wagon might be a song you have, maybe something from Oklahoma, maybe.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe a little Brigadoon going on there, huh?
I mean, they just have. You take all the famous musicals and Mary Poppins and stuff like that. It's a strange thing, but those are like those earworms that just get in there. And, thematically, the lyrics and stuff maybe doesn't resonate with me, but just the quality of the melodies, the quality of the hooks. Like if I can write those kind of things, that's the dream,
Well, as a drummer who decided he was going to take the Phil Collins path and get up from behind the drum set, what is your approach to writing? Like, how does a song come together for you?
I'm pretty agnostic about how it does. I go through periods of time. Right now, I'm in more of a very singer-songwriter kind of approach to it, where I sit down with my guitar and I'm trying to write these things straight through. I'm trying to attach onto these larger narratives and more storytelling. But I've gone through different periods. My previous period would have been where I'm basically standing in front of my computer. I got a riff idea, and I'm going to record that, and I'm going to lay out the song, and then I'm going to do it in pieces, and I'll do it as a full demo. I'll put down the guitar and I'll put down the bass, and then I'll start putting on drums on it just to get a vibe for the song. And I'll just do this all here in my basement, just trying to get it all laid out really as I hear it in my mind. And then I'll put lyrics and do backing vocals. I'll try to construct the whole thing in a demo. And a lot of the recordings that we've done through my first album were almost identical to the demos, just better. So now I'm in, as I said, more of a singer-songwriter phase, and I want to be able to have these songs be in their simplest form. Then when I put together my band to do my next record, then we can expand them and, add either only what's necessary or take the song in a totally different direction. So, and that's all from the musical side. On the lyrics side, I do both. Sometimes I just, you do that thing where you start mumbling a bunch of sounds, and then that brings out words, and somehow you have a song for an idea. Or I'll jot out very specific ideas or verses that are just set in stone. That's what they are. And then I write the music to them. So I'm really agnostic about it. I'm quite, I write all the time. I'm working on this constantly. And I think in order to do that, you can't be picky and choosy about how the ideas come to you. You just take them as they come and just roll with it. And I try not to second guess anything while I'm doing it. I want to get the ideas out, and later I can always come back and say, no, I want to change this or rewrite this. And that is, it's a liberating way to do things. If you let too much self-criticism come in right off the bat, you can stop yourself before you get somewhere. And
Yeah, I mean, I think that goes with a lot of things in life. When when you're in a flow or you're in flow state, and suddenly you think of something distracting, and it's like putting the brakes on, and it can be harmful creatively. Just because you're onto something, and then suddenly it's gone, right?
Yep,
So I think
for sure.
for sure. Well, so walk me through. I'm interested. I love the video for Born Middle End. But walk us through that song. Walk us through how that came about and the thoughts behind it.
Yeah, Born Middle End is one of those ones that songs can take 20 minutes or they can take days, and Born Middle End was one of those ones that just came together quite quickly. I think it's fairly simple from a musical perspective, but the lyrics, I really just wanted to focus on this idea of, I mean, to me, the song is about family, but it's about comparison and thinking of yourself in comparison, and kind of how harmful that is to always be comparing yourself to what other people are doing, who they are, what they've accomplished. And I wanted to take that, the song Born Middle End, I wanted to take it from the perspective of, from a friend of mine that had the comparison start from the moment she was born. And to me, she might not have realized it, but she was born 2 days after Christmas. And anybody that has a birthday near Christmas realize that nobody cares about you or your birthday. They don't pay attention to it whatsoever. And they just, you just kind of get overshadowed, at least here, in North America, by, this big holiday event that happens. And nobody pays attention. So your comparison starts already from the moment she was born. And I also talk about another friend of mine just briefly in there who had a brother who was very successful, famous in the arts, and there's no way as a young child to stand up to that, to be able to compete with something that somebody else has done. So it's sort of a harmful state of mind to put yourself in. And so the chorus is about that. Like, why are you holding why are you holding your heart that way? Like, why put yourself through that? And then we talk about the idea of being a middle child. There's sort of middle child syndrome that everybody talks about, this idea of like, you're ignored, you're in the middle, nobody's paying attention to you. But I wanted to flip that. And I wanted to flip that idea around and say, no, like, the middle is a great place to be. You're surrounded by your family. I say it's the warmest place. It's the perfect space to be in. And then the end is about, the last verse is about really being grateful. As I mentioned, I come from a big family. That means I have 7 siblings. I'm actually the second youngest of 8. And so my older siblings, they were in university. So my sisters were more like second mothers. My older brothers, I didn't even get to know them until I was in my 20s, really, when we were all adults and we could come. And I wanted to have a verse that was also just saying, like, yeah, there's all these comparisons that could exist between me and you and our family, but no, I just appreciate you. I appreciate what you've given me, how you looked after me, what our relationship is like. And yeah, so that's Born Middle End, and it's got that twangy guitar in it, and I just I like it. I think it's good. It's a fun tune.
Yeah, no, it's fabulous. And I mean, I you know what? It's big feelings. Yeah, absolutely big feelings. Right. And I don't even know. We haven't even talked about where you got the album title from yet. But I mean, what the music video, give me a little insight into that, because it's creative and it's intimate in a way. How did that all come about?
Yeah, I don't want to get sued, but basically we took an old Raffi concert, and we used footage from I don't know. Is Raffi a litigious guy? I'm not really sure, but I'm not going to worry too much about it. He can take all my earnings if he really wants. And as an independent musician, it's probably a few pennies nowadays. But we took some old footage from a Raffi video and just kind of interspersed it with these performance shots. And I liked the lightness of it. I wanted it to be fun. I had some people reach out to me after, and they're like, we watched your video. We're like, why do we feel so good after watching it? Like, it's just a light, easy, it's fun. It as you mentioned, it feels uplifting. And I think that was just a nice emotional experience that I wanted to deliver there. And whenever we make videos, this is the third video I've made for this record, and I have rules for making videos. The rules are it has to be shot in one day. Like we don't do multiple days. It has to be a fairly simple concept because I have, a life and other things that I have to do, and I can't be spending all my time making videos, even though I love to do it. So simple concept, and we have to try and find inexpensive ways to do these things. So I was trying to combine all those ideas, and I just wanted to add a little bit more of interest. So we got this idea of bringing in a mime to kind of tease, almost set up. The mime was designed to come in and tease me like a sibling, basically, to kind of poke me, to prod me, to mock me as I'm trying to do my own thing. And so we just thought that was a fun way to do it. And a lot of this stuff we just kind of come up with on the fly. We brought in this mime. Her name is Ardith Johnson, and we just gave her some ideas. This is what we're looking for, and then we just rolled with it and tried a bunch of takes and tried to bring it all together and had a fun time. So a lot of the time when we do these shoots, and I work with a couple of close friends that have helped me with all my videos, we come up with ideas on the spot that we add in. And that's the thing, is like the same thing with the approach to music is even when we're in the process, we're open to new ideas coming in and influencing what we're doing. I don't want to go in with some set idea of this is how it's going to be and this is exactly what we're going to do. I want that how we feel in the moment, how ideas that everybody else has to influence what we're doing, so that, I think it elevates it. So as long as I'm working with people that can handle doing things on the fly, some people can't. They need the preparation, but I like to work with people that like to roll with the punches. So that's what we do.
You know what? Spontaneity is a great spark, right? So, you gotta roll with the punches. So Big Feelings, let's talk about the album. And I know you've had, was it 3 singles off the album, but as an artist who created that album, and sometimes singles are there because it may be the best for what the audience may enjoy, right? It's a great teaser to pull someone in. But what are 2 or 3 songs in the album that you feel kind of like are your children? Doesn't have to be the singles, but like the 2 or 3 that you're most proud of, and what should people be looking for in those songs?
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate that. The what will be the opening track on the record is called In a Loop. And I have to be honest, it's my favorite song on the record. It's the one that I like to go back to and listen, and I think it sets a great vibe for the record. And there's a few things I like about it. A song like Born Middle End is quite, I think, straightforward in its messaging, but generally I like to live in ambiguity. And In a Loop has a lot of ambiguity, or lives in grayness in its ideas. And I enjoy that from a songwriter's perspective, because as time goes on, I learn from my own songs. Sometimes you write something from an emotional perspective, and then 6 months later you come back and you look at it and you go, wow, I'm not that bright, or I didn't handle that situation well, or maybe that person was right and I was wrong, or it was a silly way to think about it. So you can have perspective with time. And so the ones that have more lyrical ambiguity are the ones that act as sort of philosophical teachers for me as I go on in life, to look back and listen to the songs. to me, they should be something that I should learn from. And that's always been a process with writing. So In a Loop is very much like that. It's a learning, to me, it's a learning tool. Not to mention just throwing whatever it is, a minute and a half to 2 minutes at the end of the song that is just sax and guitar. I just love it. We had this amazing sax player, Gord Hyland, that came and played on the record, and I love it. It sounds amazing. He's an amazing player, and there is again this contrast of this really repetitive guitar line that just kind of goes again and again and again and again, and with the sax that never really repeats itself, is always just, playing new phrases, new lines, and yeah, I love it.
So before we get to the other songs, I've got a question for you. Do you find the greater challenge in simplicity or complexity when you're writing?
I'm always working towards simplicity. So for example, I'll do these songwriting exercises for myself just to try and stimulate things, especially if I'm stumped. And one of the things I might do is I'll set a rule for myself to say, I'm only going to use 2 chords for this entire song. And I got to make a verse melody that's compelling, and I got to have a chorus that's compelling, or I don't have, I'll set these rules that put a box around it that allow. I think there's a lot of time there's more freedom in when you put a box around something. For some reason, it just kind of allows you to think creatively on how to get outside of that. So I always go towards simplicity, and then I can decide what rules I want to break after and where I want to add complexity. I also have to say that musically, the guys that I'm playing with, that I've played with on this record, are, to me, they're thinking on a different level musically. So they can bring a lot of the complexity musically, and I can focus on bringing, complex ideas to the songs, lyrical ideas, challenging thoughts. And so I think that's a really great combination.
Yeah, interesting perspective on it. So besides the first track, any others that you really are like your babies on the album? And like your children?
There's another one called It's All On You, which is a pretty mellow track. It's, I think, maybe 6th or 7th on the record, maybe 8th. Can't recall off the top of my head. But I just like the way it feels. And I had a funny thing where when we were recording backup vocals for that song and a few others, I was sitting on a park bench with my friend Maria, and I said, it's funny, you know what? I grew up listening all the time to the Red Hot Chili Peppers. When I was, 15, whatever years old, Blood Sugar Sex Magic came out, and I used to listen to that record all the time. And I was like, it seems crazy to me that none of my songs really feel like they have those influences in there. And then we walked from that bench into the studio, and my friend Elise was there, who was also singing on the record. And this song, It's All On You, came up, and she goes, oh, this totally sounds like the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Literally within 5-minute span of having that conversation, I was like, I don't understand what's happening now. And I think she's talking maybe a little bit in the way that I sing it. Maybe there's something a little bit about the guitar. I'm not sure, but I never consciously try to draw straight lines between influences and my writing. I'm never trying to write a song like this band or whatever. I prefer that they just get all jumbled up in my head, and then maybe something comes out, but I'm not very good at drawing those lines. And so anyway, it's an interesting story to me about that song and how it came together.
No, absolutely. And, it kind of leads into where I was going to go next as to who are some of your musical influences? What did you love listening to growing up, and who have you taken little bits and pieces from and said, you know what, I love it so much, I'm gonna add it to my creativity and give it a little my secret sauce, but I'm gonna give it homage to some influences I've had. Who are some of those besides Red Hot Chili Peppers?
Yeah, well, it's funny. I mean, the Chili Peppers and a lot of this like alt rock or grunge, those are my formative years. And I don't know, I spent a lot of time trying to escape those ideas, trying to get away from them. Those are things that get ingrained in you, and you almost can't get away from them in your writing. You try to, but like that's what informed your brain on music. So I try to escape those, but it's impossible. So I seem to focus on other artists. In terms of older artists, I'm a huge fan of Neil Young. Neil inspired me to start singing in the first place. You know, I have a friend that always jokes that, oh, Neil Young, you know, voice of an angel. And, you know, he has a very particular sounding voice. I love him, but I said, if Neil can sing, I can try and sing. Like there's no entry requirements, no barriers to entry. You can just do this if you want to do this. Plus, he's an amazing songwriter, so that's just one of the things. Jim Croce, also love his songwriting, just beautiful melodies, and I love the way he had a guitar playing partner that is on almost all of his songs. And so Jim will be playing these simple chord structures, and his guitar playing partner, and I don't recall his name at the moment, is just adding all this beautiful acoustic work on there, and I just love that. John Prine, you know, lyrically complicated, slips in jokes, you know, but he's always talking about serious things. So I love the combination of having jokes in there, but also serious topics, and kind of poking fun at, you know, he pokes fun at politics or how people in society think about things without directly kind of challenging them or taking them on. You know, the idea of your flag decal doesn't get you into heaven anymore. It's just what a beautiful. So from older inspirations, those guys, I don't sing like them yet, but Al Green, I could watch footage from the 70s of Al Green in a leather vest till the end of my days and be just, yeah, I think he's He's the only. I'll say Al Green in the 70s performing is one of the only men that's ever got my heart pumping. You know, he's just love it. So.
You know, he certainly had a way about him, and you know, look, you passed the test. Neil Young was your first one, and you know, and there is a requirement in Canada that your influences start with Canadians. So
yeah,
you definitely passed the quiz. Exactly. I'm always interested because we go through life, and you know, some people say it's just a sequence of sliding doors. People come and go through our lives. Has there been an individual who's had the greatest impact on your musical career in your life? Is there someone that just stands out as that person who is made such a monumental impact that you carry them with you wherever you go?
Yeah, I'd say my brother Tori. He's about 15 years older than me, but he was always playing guitar when I was younger, and we used to jam a little bit when I was younger. He still plays now, and just his passion for it, how much he loved music. He'd be watching concert footage. You know, I can picture my mom having sent me to bed and me like sneaking on the stairs to, you know, peek at what he was watching on TV, and it would be, you know, some live concert footage. And so we always talk about music, and he has been an inspiration for me for sure, and was the first person to really introduce me to playing music. You know, taught me my first couple chords. So I think that's a starting point.
That's great. It's great you have a brother like that.
I got too many brothers. Yeah.
You mentioned earlier, making your own videos. You've got some guidelines. It needs to be a one-day shoot, things like that. The music industry has evolved with technology, for better or for worse. And it's a different place than it was, hell, 10 years ago, but 20, 30 years ago, when you could focus on your music primarily, and that's what was your driving force. What are your feelings on the business these days, and kind of overcoming the challenges of the idea of being a quote unquote creative in a universe of content?
It's a gong show, and there's too much to do. There's way too much to do for any artist. And that's why, I've recruited friends that help me with things, and I try to find people that just love doing creative things. And this is the same thing I did when I was 16 years old. I just had friends. Oh, you want to make movies? We made a classic 16 years old movie called The Canadian President. Incredible. And so we just had friends that would make things. And so that's what I have to do now. And so I have friends that'll help me on the creative side to come up with video ideas, to film them, to shoot them, friends that'll come and take photos, that kind of stuff. And then there's the whole marketing, promoting yourself kind of thing, which is a full-time job in itself. And then there's playing live and trying to be good at that. So it's way too many things for any individual person to try and be good at. It really is. So if you can't recruit other people to help you, and I think that was the mistake I made with my last record, is that I tried to do everything myself. So one of the best things that I did this time around was I said, I do my wife and I run a business together, but I do the marketing and, sales promotion for that business. I don't want to do it for music. I don't want to spend my time on that. So having people that can support on the marketing side was the smartest thing that I had ever done. Not only because they're better at it, but because I don't have to spend my time and energy there. I can focus more on playing live. I can focus more on writing new tunes, and just trying to be an artist.
Yeah, sometimes it feels more like they're artists who are spending more of their energy chasing eyeballs as opposed to ears these days. And there's an oversaturation, right? So it's I'm always going back to, if you catch my ears, you'll get the rest of me. Just give me something that's going to be great brain candy, that's going to energize me, bring me some good vibes, make me feel good about myself, maybe feel good about the story you're telling. That's where it starts for me. But we've landed in this place where, imagery has overtaken everything, and I think that sometimes there's too much effort put there, and not enough effort on the creation side. So it's definitely an interesting place to be.
Yeah, and that goes back to the video thing as well. The one day shoot is, if I have 30 days in a month, how much time do I want to spend making a video versus how much time do I want to spend writing, playing, So it's a time allocation thing. And I love making videos, but I don't want to spend my month doing that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, look, there's only one real clock, and it's the one that starts when we're born. Mm-hmm. And finishes when we're gone. So, time is precious. One of the things that we love doing is putting some good things out there in the world. And you never know who watches this podcast. We know that there are people who've gone to shows and traveled many hours through a blizzard in Germany to get to a gig, and people have come to gigs, at least here in Dallas where I live, based on seeing what we've done. And we know that we put good things out there. I'm always fascinated, I'm not a bucket list kind of guy. I just go do stuff, right? Mm-hmm. But people have dreams, and if you had an artist that you had an opportunity to get into a studio with for one day and be creative, and that can be, you can write together, you can learn from them, it's whatever you want to make of it. Who would that artist be, and why would you want to be in the studio with him?
Yeah. It's a great question. I take the approach. I have a real hard problem with famous people. I don't want to say like there's something wrong with them, you didn't hear it from me. But I want to approach relationships from a genuine perspective. So I don't like starting out relationships where somebody's up here and I'm here, or vice versa, right? I want to find, so to me, it would be about how to have a natural relationship. So to answer your question, it'd have to be somebody that I've already met and we've started to have a natural relationship, as opposed to me just, wanting to meet some idol. Like, I don't want to meet any of my idols. I don't really want to know Neil Young. I don't need that in my life. And I don't like, it's just not, that's not interesting or compelling for me. So to me, it would be about locals that I'm interested in. There's a producer and musician, this guy named Graham Walsh. And he is part of a band, a little more electronic. They're an electronic improvisational. They're called Holy F. And they're a great band, amazing live, but he's a cool producer. And I think it would be great to just work with him because he's coming at things from a totally different perspective than I do. And I just think that could be an interesting collaboration. And yeah, so I think he would be the one that would come up for me. There's another local artist. Her name is Sarah Harmer. Nope, try it again. Georgia Harmer. And I said Sarah. There's also another singer named Sarah Harmer, but there's a singer-songwriter named Georgia Harmer who writes amazing, beautiful songs. And it would be great. I would love to have her sing on a song one day. That would be really cool. And so I'm just really looking for genuine collaborations, things that come about naturally and through relationships.
I think that's an incredible answer. We've not had anyone answer the question like that before. Typically, it's somebody that you would know that's reached a certain level of stature in the industry. I love the answer. I mean, and you're right. Relationships absolutely matter, and I think relationships help creativity. So I think it's great. I hope that you get the chance. I hope anyone watching tells those individuals, hey, you got to work with Brodie. Let's make something happen.
I hope so. Well, I had a funny story where my wife knows somebody that is a Juno Award winner, which is the equivalent of the Grammys here in Canada. And so she's won a Juno, and I was hoping to reach out to her and chat with her. She's a producer, and then she won her Juno, and I was like, I can't reach out to her now. She's going to think it's just because of the Juno. And so I have kind of an upside down, I guess, way of thinking about these, but I just want to start it genuinely,
Well, I think that's great. I mean, we connection is what matters in this world. Everybody who watches us knows we insist you support your artists. So, Brodie's got his second full album out. He's got another album. He's got some EPs. He's got music in his catalog. We'll have links down below. Please go out and support him. Purchase music. Sampling it is a nice way to start, but really you need to invest in your artists. Go see him when he's playing live. Buy merch and support his musical endeavors, because art doesn't come for free. With that said, one of the ways that we like to kind of put a bow on everything is to get an understanding of when you're not making your own music, when you're not writing and you're just relaxing. Maybe you go to the gym, maybe you take a walk, you meditate, whatever, go out on a long drive in the car. Who are a couple of artists that you're listening to that you really enjoy, that if we were just sitting here having a Molson or a Labatt's, that you'd be like, hey, you got it, Scott, you got to hear these guys or gals. Who are a couple that you're listening to that you really enjoy?
I've been really hooked on this song by Medium Build called Last Time. That is just, I just love the way he constructs his melodies. And he kind of became well known because he would make these live performance videos on YouTube. And he'd give it all. You'd see his face turning red. Like there was no juice in the tank after he was done performing. And so I got into him then. And his latest song, Last Time, is just as, I mean, it's a little poppier, but the the melody is just amazing. The way he tells his story in that is amazing. Definitely worth checking out. Adrienne Lanker, who is the singer-songwriter who's part of Big Thief, actually, I'm supporting here. Went to her show and I got a suit on. Painting done by her grandmother, which is pretty cool. She's another favorite of mine. I love Jason Isbell. I mentioned Georgia Harmer. I saw Nathaniel Rateliff in the Night Sweats, great live show. And, he writes great hooky songs. And on the kind of uplifting side, which is, a nice change for me. I'm a big fan of Idols. They're a little heavier, a little more aggressive, but I love that kind of stuff. You mentioned like going to the gym or whatever, or going for a run. That's something that gets me kind of going. Father John Misty. Yeah, Father John Misty apparently has a connection to the big guy because the power went out here.
Yeah. Well, that's an incredible list. Brodie, this has been great. Everybody, please go out and support him and support the album. It's out. We're going to have the links below. Thank you, Brodie, for spending time with me. Really get a chance to get to know you. I wish you all the best with the album. And when you've got your next one out, we'll be talking again for sure. We'll do this again. Maybe we'll bring the whole band in next time.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you so much, Scott. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you so much. It's been great seeing you. Everybody be well out there. We'll see you again soon on The Hang.